You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Penny Dreadful After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Penny Dreadful After Show.
Welcome, everybody, to AFTERBUZZ TV, our first after show ever for the new Showtime series, Penny Dreadful. I'm so excited for this amazing show. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini, and with me I have tonight...
Hi, I'm Roxy Striar, and I'm so excited!
Oh my goodness, this show was so good. Oh, what were your first overall thoughts?
I walked out and I was like, ooh, like spooky,
Right.
you know?
Turn the lights back on.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. Those final moments, which we will get to, lingered with me. It was amazing. I thought they did such an incredible job, and everything looked out of this universe. Like, so spot on.
Fantastic,
I know.
right? I thought I already loved the show, just watching the trailers and knowing the cast members and we'll get into that, just knowing how big of production the show is, and then watching the first episode, I'm like, mind blown.
I know.
It was so well done.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I was kind of nervous because we've known that we were going to cover the show here for the last couple months, and every day that we see each other, we're like giving a countdown till Penny Dreadful.
We are.
So I'm like, oh, what if this isn't as good as I think it's going to be? You know, it's getting a lot of comparisons. I'm seeing it everywhere. Everyone's been talking about it. And I was like, you know, what if I'm not that into it the first episode? So when I watched it, I was so happy that it exceeded my expectations. It was so unbelievably creepy and amazing, and I can't wait to find out what these characters are really going to do, because they each have their own story right now, and I'm just like, who do I follow? What's going on?
I was literally sucked in, and we'll get into that. When I was like, oh my, just how they started with the very first scene. We see this woman, and she's sleeping, and it's this dark, creepy atmosphere, and she hears this noise, goes down the wooden, creaky hallways, and it's like, you know, from horror stories, you don't go down a creepy hallway.
Like, what are you doing?
It was like, don't go through that door. And here she ends up in the bathroom, but then something takes her, like sucks her from the wall, whatever, breaks through the wall. What do you think that is?
Well, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first went to watch this, it was because Showtime's doing this promotion where you can watch it online, and you don't have to have Showtime right now. So I went to watch it the other night, and it was like 2 a.m., and I was trying to go to sleep, and I put it on, and I got through that first scene and that first scene alone, and I was like, I can't do this tonight. I'm watching a different day, because, like, I don't know what that is, but it seems like hell. Like, whatever, some sort of alternate land. I mean, we talked tonight about this place that is a middle ground somewhere, you know. I forget exactly what they call it, like halfway between a half world between what we know and what we fear. The sucking is going to that land somehow, however that is.
And usually things that we fear or something, our nightmares usually dwell in shadows and darkness, because it's that fear of not knowing what's out there, and it's in the darkness. So I think they're going to definitely play off of suspense and whatnot, which is known for the Victorian England era, because this whole Showtime series is based off of course, Dracula, Frankenstein, Picture of Dorian Gray. All of those came out in the 1890s.
Right.
Well, the Frankenstein actually came out earlier, 1800s to the 1818.
Yeah.
But they're known to come out in the Victorian England era.
I think it's crazy that we are now taking stories from there, you know, how it's with all the technology today and all the writers and all of the horror films that come out. The fact that these are still the best and the most original stories, and we're still using them hundreds of years later. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's iconic too, and especially over the years, we've seen so many different variations. How people have gone off book and off canon with these stories, and I love how Penny Dreadful is bringing it back to the way that when people first read them in the Penny Dreadfuls.
Right. This isn't it in
This is
2014.
Originally, how I'm sure the writers have envisioned how scary they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done an amazing job. I feel like really sticking to the truth of these stories and the writers, or at least in the first episode. We haven't seen what's to come, but so far I feel like they're really doing a great job developing these characters the way that they were supposed to be developed.
Yeah, and already we get sucked in with this woman mysteriously disappearing, and then we go into the intro, which I just want to quickly talk about the intro a little bit. We see, I love how they shoot it and how they filmed all of it and edited it, because we see all these instruments, religious instruments like a rosary and crucifix, and then alongside with scorpions and spiders.
I know, the usage of spiders.
Snakes and frogs, all these animals that usually have a negative evil connotations to them, but juxtaposed along these religious items, I thought was interesting how they played in the dichotomy of good and evil with each other.
Absolutely.
Sets the tone of how the show is going to be.
Yeah, and then, like you're saying, they usually have this evil connotation, but they also, some of them do have a religious connotation when you're talking about a snake, things like that. They go back all the way. And it just does a really good job setting the tone of this series, which Showtime typically does,
Absolutely.
I really like how networks more so are moving towards this, where you kind of get a minute to be set up for the show and get yourself into that, because we have such crazy busy lives. Before you put on the TV, what are you doing? You're doing a million different things, and then you sit down and all of a sudden, there's so much action going. No, I want to sit down and I want to see something, and then I need a minute to just get in the vibe, and this really sets the tone for the night's episode.
I agree, and it also helps. I think this particular one, is going to show the audience maybe a different side of evil things. Because the intro showed maybe they kind of glorified some evil things in a way. They made it beautiful and slowed it down for us to really enjoy the overall aspect of it. And I think Showtime's going to have us think different ways, and things that we believe is one way, but going to have us see it a different way.
Yeah, and also on top of that, the scariest things are the unknown. So
Exactly.
it's not, yes, the spiders are scary and things like that. Yes, that's scary, but that's something I can put a name to. I know what it is, so it's not as horrifying to me as the creature. We're seeing things that I don't know what on earth it is. I have no idea. So that's horrifying, because I can't even put a label on it. We're seeing things that the best experts, I don't know what it is, which is why we don't know what they're capable of. We don't know what world they're being sucked into. We don't know what this thing on the table is, which is why this is, I have a feeling, going to be quite a horrifying show.
Horrifying but brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Also, so I want to start to get into the characters, because after the intro, we see this woman who is Vanessa Ives, played by the amazing
You're
Eva
obsessed.
Green. I'm obsessed with her.
I know.
She's freaking brilliant. Eva Green.
She is amazing. And it's great to see her on the show. She killed it tonight.
Yeah,
it's great to see a lot of these actors.
I know. The moment I knew Eva Green was attached to this project a long time ago, I was like, I got to do Penny Dreadful.
I know. You've wanted it for so long. And I just have to brag about you for a little bit, because you have been doing your research on this show. You're reading everything. You've gone back. Okay, tell us a little bit. What have you been going to do?
Okay, so knowing the show was coming up, I read Picture Dorian Gray. I sped read Frankenstein. I'm planning on reading Dracula again, even though I'm more familiar with Dracula, so that's why I kind of put Dracula off. But I'm going to read that again. And also War of the Worlds, too, which are all very well-known Penny Dreadfuls, which is also the show is what is based off of.
Right. So we have two of us here tonight. We're actually a panel of four, though.
4.
But of our 4, we all have our different things. But you are a resident. You know everything. You're our
I love
bank
reading
of knowledge.
books.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And thank goodness for people like you, so you can inform me when we're watching. You're like, ooh, you want to know something cool about this? I can tell you. I'm like, yeah, I do, Marisa. Thank you.
I find it fascinating, and I hope everyone else finds it fascinating.
Oh my God, the
too.
most. Of course.
I mean,
that's what we do
I
here.
was in a library while I was reading, watching and reading the first episode of this, and then so when I saw the spiders on screen, it took every fiber of my being not to freak
scream,
out
I
in
know.
a public, silent place. So, all right, I digress a little bit. We'll get back into this episode. So we meet Vanessa Ives, and she's praying in Latin. She's playing the Hail Mary, and then we see this creepy spider coming out of
just
the
one.
just one this time, coming out of the crucifix. Why do you think she's praying so fervently this time?
I don't know. It was really interesting to me. I don't know what part religion is going to play in all of this, because it seems like the way you set up a first episode is very important to the rest of the season and the series. So I have to think that religion is going to play something huge. We also learn later on that this character has a lot of guilt. I don't know what this guilt is. She feels guilty. She feels like this is her fault. I don't know why. We haven't gotten there yet, but I have to believe that that has to do with something with why she's praying so often. But I don't know what she could have done.
And also, while she's praying, we hear this. I don't know if you watched it with the subtitles on, but we hear this low voice saying, "Soon, child, soon," and I'm hungry.
No, I didn't.
What do you think that is?
Wait, I didn't even notice that.
So
So
I highly suggest go back and rewatch this episode with the closed captioning on. And there's the line, "Soon, child, soon," and I'm hungry. In a very, very creepy way.
is it supposed to be coming from the spider or from like the atmosphere?
Atmosphere, something. I think maybe whoever she's praying to might be after her in some way.
Well, I don't know. I mean, when we're talking about this woman who was getting sucked out of the window, we don't really have context for that because we don't know when or who that is or what's going on there.
Yeah.
Is Vanessa the little girl, and so it was her parent being sucked away? Is that why she's so invested, other than the fact that obviously we see that she has some stakes in this daughter that's been invested? I don't know what her exact relationship is or how invested she is, but I don't know. It seems to me, like you were mentioning before, this really is going to have us question what is evil, because if she's done such bad things before, but right now we look at her as the protagonist, is she partially evil as well?
She's a very enigmatic creature, or
Right.
person, and we don't really know if she's good or if she's evil yet. I think she's kind of in between.
So I don't know, this soon child, maybe it has to do with now we have the girl coming back and we see her for a second before she's sucked out again, or something's coming soon.
We'll see. And then we also meet Ethan Chandler, who is American sharpshooter. We see Vanessa at this American festival outside, and Ethan showing off his shooting skills.
Right, and telling stories.
And telling stories about when he was growing up, he did all this, but Vanessa's smart woman that she is, she knows that he's probably lying,
Full of crap.
but intrigued with his shooting skills, and she meets him at this one pub,
Yeah.
I guess. And then I loved their first interaction. I mean, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Casino Royale, also starring Eva Green? How Vanessa sizes up Ethan and saying your hand is trembling and you're a drinker and you did all this, like, just in a Sherlockian way, just reading him and knowing like the truth of all of him. It really reminded me of her character Vesper Lind and how she
Really?
sizes up James Bond. It's just so like on point, the same beats. It was brilliant. What do you think of their reaction?
Well, I
together.
love seeing kick-ass women on TV,
Love
and
it.
so that's something that I always am drawn to, and especially because of the fact that this is taking place in 1891, I enjoy it even more. You know what I mean? Seeing somebody back then who really knows how to put a man in his place, it's cool as hell, you know?
Especially during that time, because
Yeah.
men were still kind of above
Yeah,
women.
exactly. That's why I think it's even more heroic and awesome to watch. So I thought it was cool. I loved that she didn't give her name. He says, "Do you have a
Yeah.
name?" She says, "Yeah."
Yes.
Like,
And walks away.
I love that. I always, anytime somebody says that to me, "Do you have a name?" I always want to say that, because why not just say, "What is your name?" You know? Then she would respond, "But do you have a name?" Yep. Like, so smug and awesome.
But you also have to keep it elusive and mysterious, because
Yeah.
if Ethan wasn't interested, he'd be like, "Yeah, whatever. I don't care about this woman." But she was so intriguing and got his attention.
Did you see any potential romance sparks in that first interaction?
No,
You don't
I
think
didn't.
so?
No, because I think Ethan, he's somewhat of a player in a little way. I seem like he's the kind of guy who.
Well, yeah, because
we saw him just sleep with this one girl or
outside railing her against
a quickie. So he doesn't. He's the kind of person who like uses women for just pleasure.
Absolutely.
So I don't see a relationship going
I don't
on.
know. I could see something potentially happening. Maybe it's just because they're both so incredibly attractive that I wanted something to happen, or mysterious. Also, welcome back, Josh Hartnett. Welcome back.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see Josh Hartnett back on the screen.
He was awesome.
He's done a lot of great independent films in between.
No,
but to have-
absolutely. I just mean like welcome back to my life all the time now. I'm just excited about it that every week he will show up on my television because I'm pretty sure circa age 13 he was on my bedroom wall.
You and every other teenage girl in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And also Tiana Hobson, our other co-host who will be joining us next week. She's a big Josh Hartnett fan too.
Yeah.
So I know the reason why she's on board with this show. So Vanessa asked Ethan for this night work because of his sharpshooting skills.
Yeah, really mysterious the way that she's saying, would it matter, you know?
Would it matter?
He's saying, is this murder? Would it matter? And it's giving us a lot of information on a couple things. Number one, on each of their characters. And number two, on how she is able to read people. To me, there's something almost supernatural about her. She has this energy, this force, and I don't really know what it is. We see it later on, which we'll talk about when she stares down one of the creatures. But there's something about her that is so strong. I don't know if it's possible that she's 100% human with no powers, because she's just so, she gives off that vibe, you know?
Okay, so he agrees to this night work. And they meet up with Sir Malcolm Murray, who is an explorer. Mm-hmm. And what did you think of Malcolm Murray, of his character?
I'm skeptical of him a little bit because I like him a lot, but I'm nervous about him and what he's willing to do. He, at his core, is a morning man. You know, so when you are like that and you feel your back's against the wall and you have one mission and one mission alone, I think you're willing to take down anybody and everybody to get there, which means that he feels as if he has nothing to lose, which means that I'm nervous about everybody around him, you know?
It's funny that, like, you think that he has nothing to lose because he did lose something.
Right.
Someone very important to him, Mina.
Yeah.
And if you know the Dracula story, Mina Murray is the main woman protagonist in the Dracula story.
Wow. So, okay, if I am following along, then what does that mean? Are we going to see her as, what are you thinking?
And, well, not to jump too far ahead, but we do see the scene where we know that Murray's daughter was taken.
Yeah.
And then we see him in his bedroom.
And she appears. Soaking wet and scary.
And then we do that quick flash, lightning, and
in the window.
And she's a vampire now. She looks like a vampire.
Something like that. I mean, I'm just telling these people they should stop building houses with windows because something's weird with all the windows.
And creaky wooden floors.
Exactly. No hallways, no windows, no floors. But yeah, I don't know exactly what she is. She looked possessed, to say the least. So I vampire, very possible, but definitely with the eyes, the flash, whatever it is.
It was so fast that we can't really tell right away now.
But we know that she's been changed.
Yes.
And she is not the little girl that he once knew.
Do we think she is still alive, or she's just a figment of his imagination right now?
To me, it felt like she was portraying two different characters right there. So I feel like maybe there's something inside her, like a demon inside her or something taking over her body part of the time. Okay. So I think she is still there, but I think there's something else inhabiting her. That's just what it seemed like, because for the first second that she's there, we see she is scared and like upset, but she didn't look supernatural. And then there's a switch, and then there's the window, and she's gone, you know? So I don't know. I'm thinking that there's some dual personality thing going on.
And also to keep going on the Malcolm Vanessa track, that after that happens, Sir Murray goes to Vanessa, and then they have this discussion that they they kind of feel guilt, and it seems like they believe it was their fault.
Well, I understand a father believing it was his fault. You know, he's sitting there and he was like, yes, this is my fault, whatever it is. But I don't understand where she's coming from. Like, what happened that was her fault? You know?
Yeah, and
I don't know the answer.
I think that Mina and Vanessa were friends at one point. And then Vanessa somehow, it seems like Malcolm and Vanessa somehow, they have this connection, this already established relationship. And then we have Mina, and they were involved in some way.
And somehow you feel
but
like she could have saved her?
Yeah, in a way. So we don't know exactly what happened for them to feel this guilty. Because after that, we also see Vanessa, she's praying again, more fervently this time, and playing the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer in Latin. And then this time, the crucifix is actually turned upside down, which is known for, that's an anti-Catholic, anti-religious symbol.
Oh, okay.
An inverted cross, that's anti-religious. And then we see a swarm of spiders coming out.
Yeah,
so it's even
creepiest.
worse this time.
Yeah, I just feel like somebody who is incessantly praying like that and going and always be, you got to have a lot of guilt. You must have done something. It's not just the way that she feels. You know, it's not how anytime we lose somebody, everybody thinks like, could I have done something different? I think it's more than that. I think she actively did something that made this happen. You know, I think she has regrets. I think she has concrete regrets, not just abstract, like, what could I have done? Is this my fault? I feel like there were actions that took place on her part that she regrets, and she goes and she prays and she asks for forgiveness.
And also, it's starting to affect Malcolm this time, because we see he's this very strong-headed man, and he seems like he has everything really well put together. But then after the appearance of Mina, he kind of gets a little bit vulnerable. We see a little bit of vulnerability in him when he's saying the story about this lion, but that's, you know, just a metaphor for his life, that he soon realizes he's the one that he started off as a hunter, but now he's becoming the prey.
Right,
Something is after him.
Absolutely. And I'm very curious, number one, about their relationship, like how they are connected. Was it his daughter's friend or what? They seem to be bonded over this mission. So how did they get to that point? And also, just like you're saying, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm just really curious about a lot of things with him. And when he's talking and saying that he's the prey, well, why would somebody want to hurt you? Why is somebody hunting you down? You know, and how did that switch take place? Unless he did something wrong, which is why, again, as I say, I'm skeptical about him.
Yes. I mean, both of them are, Vanessa and Malcolm, they're very interesting characters.
And
already. And we're just in the first episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't wait to see where their characters are planning on going in the next 7 episodes that we have of this amazing series already. I'm so excited.
Because right now, we're thinking that this is team good guys. You know, we're thinking that
they're our protagonists.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not so sure.
Maybe not. I cannot wait until how their stories unfold. But going back a little bit, we're going to so Vanessa, Malcolm, and Ethan, they all meet up at this one dark night diner place, whatever,
one
some
of those
shady
secret layers
places
where you have to knock and the person opens. And
shady place. We'll just say shady place. And they go downstairs in the basement.
Right.
And they meet up with 3 people who are just standing here, who actually, it turns out to be this shootout with vampires.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious what's going on here. You know, they're standing there to protect something, you know, to be the gatekeepers. And if we thought that it was going to come down to shoot, they're speaking to each other in a different language. I don't know what's being said. I'm definitely going to search the internet this week to try to figure out if anybody knows what's being exchanged here at this point. But something goes wrong, and everybody starts shooting.
And Ethan, being that sharpshooter that he is, just keeps shooting up the place.
And that crazy moment where we see that person that we think is, or the vampire that we think is dead, bend over backwards and like his whole body curls up
and kind of like an exorcist kind of way.
Absolutely. I'm not even certain right now what we have, like putting labels on these. Yes, we can say vampire.
Vampires are some creature of the night that's
These creatures of the night, right. And again, going back to being the most scary, because these are unfamiliar creatures that I can't exactly title, they're creepy because I don't know what they're capable of.
And I thought that was interesting how when they were shooting them, from all the vampires shows, movies that we've seen in the past century, I will say, because we've been alive in the past century, we see stakes through the heart, and we see them use a lot of different weapons. But when we see vampires die or get vanquished, they turn into dust. But these vampires, their bodies are still there.
Yeah.
So
maybe
are
that's
they
not
true?
what they are.
Are they true vampires?
Yeah, I don't know. And what distinguishes these things from the creature that we later on see? You know, I need to figure out what are all the different people / creatures. What are all the different categories? You know, what are we seeing here?
And also, we saw 3 of them, but they were just standing there before they met the 3 main people. It made me think that, like, they knew them in a way.
Right.
And are they associated with them? Have they done business?
They seem familiar with them.
Yeah, very familiar. Are there more people
like that?
These vampire-ish
Oh,
creatures
there's got to
out there
be.
like
There's no way those are the only 3 and then they're dead and we'll never see them again. There's got to be more, you know?
Yeah, because they're questioning, because they think this type of creature kidnapped Mina a long time ago, and they believe there's at least one more out there. But I think there are more.
Yeah, I think there's definitely more. And I think that it's going to be kind of a hunt to chase them down. And as every time you find one, you find out there's another one, because you're finding the wrong one. You're looking for the specific. So
yeah, and then so we have the body of the vampire that still remains, and then we get introduced to Victor Frankenstein, a young, dashing young man. What do we think of their portrayal of Frankenstein?
I thought this was the coolest part of the episode so far. I think he is so intriguing.
Same here.
It doesn't hurt that he's gorgeous, of course.
No, it doesn't, of course.
But his morals and his rationale in life, especially when we end up seeing him in the scene where he's sitting and talking about all that matters to him, is the difference and what separates, and the tissue that separates life and death. I love when shows set that up for us. They give us somebody's concrete statement on what they believe in life, you know? Like, now I know about that character and what he fights for. The same way that I now know that Murray's fighting for, it will murder the whole world to get his daughter back. He has a goal. He has an objective. Now we know Frankenstein's, which is to figure out the difference and the tissue involved between life and death and what that line is.
And what separates
them, exactly. There's nothing better. There's how well the show is written, you can tell, because there's nothing better than when the very first episode, we are given everybody's objective.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, okay, I can be on your team because I get what you're fighting for, and I'm there with you, which is awesome. I
Played
loved
by
him.
Harry Treadway.
Right. He did an amazing
Great job. I haven't really seen any of his work, but I'm already fascinated with him, and it makes me want to go back and see, like, all of his other projects.
Right.
I love the way that he's portraying Frankenstein, and Victor, because his viewpoints on other people. Because we see, like you said, the way he thinks and what he believes is true and why he does his study and research on science. But his attitude and somewhat arrogance against the other people that he's working with, like, and he was naming them up. This person who studies this and this person who studies that. They're nothing. They're meaningless. And there's nothing that he can touch and what he wants to plant his flag on. So just his viewpoint and how he views other people is interesting, and I think might get into predictions, Terry, that he's going to be butting heads a lot with people. Just his strong viewpoints on
Absolutely.
life.
His hesitancy to work with the team that we had been introduced to is what made me even the most skeptical of them, because I so am in line with him, and I'm like, wow, I really like this guy. And especially when we find out, he says he's told that he is poetic or whatever, and he says he has the bank account to match or something, like, I like that he is our typical, he doesn't have a lot of money, he fights for what he believes in, he's looking for the bigger meaning in life and how this all connects, and like I said, it's just somebody I can get on board with.
I agree. He's definitely one of the most interesting people so far on the show.
Right.
And we're going to have a bunch of more new characters coming in down the pipe.
Absolutely, but to be honest, I didn't have a character on the show that I wasn't interested.
Like. Yeah.
There really wasn't somebody that I wasn't interested in learning more about, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think what appealed to me was just how he studies things and how he goes so in depth with research, kind of like what I do, but like, and also his strong viewpoints. And I mean, I admire that in a person. So, but they, and just a side note, the Explorers Club, which they meet in, the sign on the door said Major General Robert Clive, and he was actually a well-known Indian explorer who helped with the.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with you right now.
Who helped with the starting of the British India, that time era, which I thought was fascinating. Just how they tie it all in just ways like that.
Yeah, and so that people like you who know their stuff can go and really appreciate the little small. That's so cool.
Yeah, so Victor goes and looks at the exoskeleton of this vampire that they just shot, and we see under the skin some hieroglyphic carvings.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I've never seen anything. What is this? And then I love the moment later when they say, we picked you because you're not scared to peel off the skin and look what's underneath, you know?
Again, brilliant.
Marissa, what are your ideas about this? Like, what could these, they mean something we find out with the blood.
Blood curse.
Blood curse, something about that. So.
Okay, so hieroglyphics, when I think of hieroglyphics, I think of Egyptian.
Yeah.
Because that's what mostly people are known for them doing. They write and inscribe everything, their history, how things work in hieroglyphics. And so that was their way of recording data. And so I think of Egyptians, and then my mind went to the mummy. Maybe we're throwing mummy characters into this crazy, amazing story already. Then I was like, that'd be kind of getting out of the Victorian England, but I don't care. They can throw anyone in, and I'd still be intrigued. I really don't care.
Yeah, but what is this blood curse then? Is it like, curse makes me think witches. That's what or some sort of super.
I think it's like maybe a map to some kind of ritual that's gonna go on. Blood curse, because maybe the inscriptions were like directions or to something, to a ritual. Maybe like it's a guided,
Right, but Lynn, the person that they bring them to,
it's Ferdinand Lynn. He was funny.
He was a weird, kooky character. Again, somebody I'm skeptical of. I thought it was totally bizarre that he asked them to hang out socially before he would discuss business with them.
It's good that you mentioned that, because he said that, and makes me think he said that immediately after when he said blood curse, and then he kept on reading. You could see something on his face, like he kind of knew what was up.
Yeah,
he knew more information that he wasn't revealing, and then maybe thought, who knows what Malcolm and Vanessa are getting into? I need to know these people if they're getting into something as dark as the information I know, but I'm withholding from them.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking. When you are the translator, or when you understand things that other people don't, you hold a lot of power because you can choose what to share with them and what not to. And I think that he gave them just enough for them to know he's legitimate and knows what he's talking about. But there definitely was more that he wasn't sharing, because he needs to know what these people are going to do with this information once they get it.
And also, he did mention the inscription, whatever engravings of these hieroglyphics. They're from the Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Which also made me think mummy, because they use the Book of the Dead.
Yeah, creepy. But we know they have more of them, and do we think they're all going to be the same, or do you think they're going to be different pieces of the puzzle?
Different pieces of the puzzle, because I think that's what makes stories more interesting. Yeah. We find things here and there that we keep interested in the story, because we find little bits and then put it all together near the end. So it's definitely going to be a puzzle.
I agree.
We're going to find
But how many of these hieroglyphics, sorry, I can't even, hieroglyphics are we going to find before
maybe they have to shoot more vampires. Maybe there are more vampires with more hieroglyphics.
But they have to shoot them all,
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm with you. That I think that there has to be more hieroglyphics, because if they're all different pieces of the puzzle, then that's what makes something interesting.
Yeah.
They can't all be the same.
But also, Ferdinand said that there has been nothing about the Egyptians for 2,000 years. So this
He
is
said there's been nothing
dated.
urgent about them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because they're like, we need this so quickly, and he's like, why do you need this so quickly?
Yeah.
Step back.
But if there hasn't been anything about Egyptians and hieroglyphics for 2,000 years, what's happening now for it to resurface?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet, but I'm
Maybe.
pretty sure we're gonna find out.
I'm pretty sure, and hopefully we'll get that answer down the road. So after they meet up with that, I want to take this quick scene with Vanessa and Ethan and the whole tarot card reading scene.
Yeah, I mean, so when he goes over and he says, I love this, you have a light step, miss. I love that line, because I just think, like, something about
She's a
her.
ninja.
Yeah, she's a ninja.
She can
She's
sneak
total
in on
ninja.
people.
And yeah, this is, again, to back my maybe love interest, the lover's card is pulled.
Lover's card.
But it was weird with the scorpion. Yeah,
But
and the
do you
lips.
do you know the meaning of, like, scorpions? Their symbolic meanings usually means protection and isolation. And if you think about it, Ethan Chandler, he seems like a very isolated man who's obviously running from a dark past, which Vanessa has kind of told the audience that you're running from something, you have a past that you don't want to share with people. So he's protecting himself.
Yeah. I wonder why this was so important for her to do. She was like, just do this for me. I don't, there's something more there.
Something more. And I wonder why Vanessa's doing tarot cards. I mean, tarot card readings usually helps tell the past, current, and future of someone's life.
Yeah,
And how Vanessa has this ability to do that.
Is she some sort of a future
A seer
yeah,
or
something.
psychic
Like I was
or
saying before, I
oracle.
don't see her as 100% average human. You know, there's something about her that's different.
Yeah. And it also makes me think that Ethan, his past life probably involved a woman that ended in heartbreak. And he might be running from that.
Maybe it's about a woman, but I don't know. I think it might even be something deeper. I'm not sure. But he's running, and she's kind of doing the same. We don't know what her background is yet, but they both have baggage, and it's about to spill out.
That they do. So I thought that was a cool scene, especially the floor and how they filmed it. That we got this eagle eye version of the floor.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Some cool symbol, which I have no idea. Maybe I was just looking too into him. Like, what does this mean? Is it some
What does it all
religious,
mean?
religious, I don't know, kind of symbol that maybe seemed like somewhat of an altar? In a way, if you did any kind of ritual or something.
But I think they definitely showed it to us for a reason. I have a feeling they've shown everything to us for a reason. So I don't think you're looking too much into it, but we don't know the meaning of it yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already talked about the Vanessa and Malcolm, but more into Victor. And so we see Victor go back to his workplace, and he goes into the basement, and we see this dead, green-looking cadaver on ice. And he's trying to, I don't know, he's putting iodine or something on the forehead. And then the lights go out, electricity, which is...
he's completely stitched up,
stitched up,
looking
yes.
like
a dead
monster.
person.
Yeah.
And we know that Frankenstein from the story that he's obsessed with electricity, always using electricity in his research and science and projects and stuff. And he's using electricity. The power goes out, and he puts on the lamp, and then we see the quick flash when the electricity comes back on. Just the way the camera goes up and down. Did you notice every time he went down and then went back up, the body was turning color?
Yeah.
Like how it started off this dark green.
I know.
And then we see the
I thought we were going to see the
time.
eyes just pop open.
Yeah. Then the second time we see a human color flash, but the body's still there.
I was
Then
thinking
the
the
third
exact
time, the body's gone.
I know. So we knew it was coming. I mean, people know this story. They know the story of Frankenstein. People know that that's what he's trying to get after. So I think that it was less of a shock that he was going to come back to life, which is why I thought that it was so unbelievable the way they did it by keeping us interested, you know, because I knew it was going to happen, but I was glued to the screen. Little things like what you were just saying with the color, and anytime something's in the dark, and then also the moment where they first see each other and we find him and his back is towards us. Not like a monster at all, like a lost soul.
Like a lost human.
Right,
being.
like a lost. I don't know yet. As story goes, it doesn't work out well, and he's whatever. But we get this one moment. They both have the tears, and touches his face, and he touches his, back and forth. I thought that was so incredibly beautifully. I couldn't even get over it. And he sits and he says who he is, and it was unbelievable to me.
I think it was a very interesting interaction how they first technically meet when this creature is alive, because from the story, Frankenstein, when he builds the creature and becomes alive, he's appalled by the creature because it's so ugly and so deformed and all that, and he runs away.
Right.
And then this meeting in this show, it's beautiful and poetic in a way, like he's fascinated by this creature.
Absolutely.
And I think the creative
they're fascinated by each other.
Yep, with each other, yes.
Yeah.
So I think this different type of interaction, that the fact that he's really intrigued and interested and kind of has this already love and affection for this creature is somewhat different.
Absolutely. And that moment of, like, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, you're crying, not because you're afraid, not because of anything, because this is what you have spent your life working for, and you just brought somebody back from the dead. It was just gorgeous. And like you're saying, poetic. And we heard that earlier in the episode, that he is poetic. And I think he has a deeper, darker sense of meaning and soul. And we're seeing that. And this to me, I was like, that's love. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but
no, it is.
That's the depiction of you're loving your work. And that's what you did and created. It was unbelievable.
He fell in love. And then at the end, we see him saying, I'm Frankenstein. I'm Dr. Frankenstein.
I'm Dr. Frankenstein, yeah.
So it's really, overall, this episode was amazing.
Right.
We're already sucked in. Is there anything else that I missed that we need to talk about? I definitely want to talk about the writing and directing and cinematography.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it all, Marisa. Except, yeah, let's talk about some of the.
Well, obviously, Penny Dreadful. They're known, the actual Penny Dreadfuls. They're small periodicals, weekly periodicals that were more garnered towards the middle class.
Because they were really
people.
They penny because they were only a penny
They
each.
only cost a penny.
Right.
But the thing in Victorian London at that time, that the middle class was rising, and the literacy and intelligence of the middle class was also increasing. And because of that, a lot of people were writing about how the Industrial Revolution and just the social changes were greatly affecting the lower class people, the poor and the impoverished, and how their lives became dreadful and barren, and like they couldn't afford anything because they were so poor, and just how the whole social class changed in a way. And these stories appeal to that. And the Penny Dreadfuls were mostly known for building suspense and having many characters in a story, and they tend to be long stories, which all of them were, because I read a few of them this week.
How do these stories compare, in your opinion? Because I know you do a lot of shows like this, but one of them being Once Upon a Time, where we have a lot of iconic characters. How do these characters compare to characters like that, where we're taking characters that already exist in outside worlds and putting them on a show?
Right.
How do you feel about these ones?
The great thing about this show is because, yes, I also do Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time, those characters, they tend to be more positive, and they're from all different aspects. We have folk tales and Disney characters, and they're from all different things mixed together in this big melting pot of people. And then here with Penny Dreadful, we have a bunch of stories that came out in the same era, in the same time frame, in the 1800s. And they're all dark and gothic and intriguing in that way. So they all share a similar common bond in that way.
So it's easy
Once
to
Upon
intertwine.
a Time is everything mixed together. And this one's, I feel Penny Dreadfuls here sticks to a certain genre.
Right, which it makes it more easier to intertwine these stories and like you're saying, melt them together.
Yeah, and Dracula, Picture Dorian Gray, so many stories. Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, those stories came out in like the same decade. Within 10 years, all these stories came out. And also, we had like, H.G. Wells, Wilde, all these big famous authors come from the Victorian England era.
Yeah.
And also people that other authors that you might know, Emily Bronte.
Yeah.
And Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, a.k.a. Lewis Carroll, who...
I love when you get so excited.
If you don't know Lewis Carroll, he's mostly known for writing Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and also a big for poetry and poetics, we have Lord Tennyson. So, which I actually read a lot of Lord Tennyson when I was younger.
I'm so shocked that you read something. I'm kidding, of course.
No, but I find it fascinating. So there are a lot of authors that we're aware of, but may not be aware that they came from this time era.
I wonder how much they're going to stick to these authors' words. I was trying to watch, because obviously doing research on the show, knowing we're going to cover it, one of the first things you do is you IMDb it. And when you do that, we know, or whatever it is, you know who these people are portraying. But I noticed that they on purpose left that until the end when he says, I'm Dr. Frankenstein, I'm Victor Frankenstein. I was wondering if people who aren't doing research, they just put this on there watching it, if they caught on to that, or if all of a sudden they were like, oh, wow, this is a character that I know and recognize, and here he is, and he's back. And I'm wondering how much they're going to try to surprise us with things and how much they're going to stick to these stories that have already been written.
And also, speaking of writing, the John Logan, who Academy Award winner for Gladiator and Aviator, and he's written so many stories in movies and titles and stuff. And then he got intrigued by reading Dracula and Picture Dorian Gray. He just kept reading, and then he started writing. And then you realize the story of Penny Dreadful, the show, was like, hey, I'm writing a Penny Dreadful story, might as well call the show Penny Dreadful.
Right, absolutely.
And so that's how he has written all 8 episodes of this season. And he's also working with director Juan Antonio Bayona, who is known for mostly directing, most recently, The Impossible, and also I forget the other parts of, but I'm like, oh my goodness, The Impossible. I don't know if you've ever watched the show. I was like, is he gonna make me cry in this show, because it's so beautifully shot. The series.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, there was that feeling of horror sometimes, but like we saw in the last scene tonight, it was so beautiful, and the tears on them. It wasn't trying to scare us at that moment. They could have gone for the big shock factor, and it could have been a monster, and he could have attacked, whatever it was. But I think it's trying to pull at our heartstrings a little bit, especially with the theme right now being focused on finding this girl that was taken from her father.
Absolutely.
And how we have so many close-ups, and that we are seeing their facial expressions, and we're getting invested in them and involved in their lives.
And the production design. I mean, we'll get more into it as we talk about more after shows. There's so much that I want to talk about that we didn't really see in tonight, but just like the atmosphere, they shoot in Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah.
And even though the story takes place in England, I found it fascinating just how they can make sets and make it look like a real place.
Absolutely.
From somewhere that's not where the real place is. So going off of that, I just want to quickly talk about news and gossip.
Okay. Give it to us.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So for the promotion of Penny Dreadful, and I find this really, really cool, for the 2-week from May 5th to May 18th, which is currently right now, 2014, they made these exclusive interactive windows in New York and in Hollywood here that I gotta go check this out. This seems pretty cool.
So let's go right now.
But yeah, I mean, after the show, I'll go to Hollywood. But pretty much the windows are like 30 feet windows, and there's all this design filled with lasers, and it can follow and track people who are walking past the street, and it shows like their shadows, but in a creepy way, like they're stalking people.
Yeah.
And then there are also like little peek holes in the windows. If one is brave enough to go look inside, it shows like little clips and exclusives from Penny Dreadful, or just like gets people more into the world of Penny Dreadful.
Have you heard anything about the results of that, and if that's created a lot of draw?
People are liking it. I mean, it's very interactive. I don't know any other show who's done this
that,
for
no.
promotion, and especially in such a world that used to exist. I mean, it's still technically there, but times are so different. People now in today's society can look back in what that world was like, and I find that fascinating. And so there's a big interactive window at the 21st Street and Broadway in New York, and then also at the 7024 Hollywood Boulevard at the Roosevelt Hotel here in Hollywood.
Yeah, so everybody go check that out.
I'm going to go check it out and take some photos and maybe show it on our after show. I mean, that's really cool. And then also, just a little side note, Logan, John Logan, who wrote this series, is also writing the new James Bond 007 movie, and he's working with the director Mendes, and he's part of Penny Dreadful as well. So he's writing the new Bond movie, and then after that, he's coming back and writing this. He's already working on season 2 of Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing when you see all the time in Hollywood, people bond together and start working together in pairs, because when you have a connection and it works like this show clearly does, then you want to stay working together, which is awesome.
Absolutely. So that's all my news. Let's get to predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Okay, so a lot has already happened in tonight, but where do we think? I mean, we know more characters are coming down the line. We have Dorian Gray coming in, and then
he's
just so
he's
many
in
people.
6 episodes.
Yeah, just so many people that are have yet to be introduced to us. But where do you think Vanessa and Malcolm are going? Like, are they behind something for the disappearance of Mina? Is she alive? Is she coming back?
I do think, like I was saying before, that something's inhabiting her body, and I think it's going to be about finding her and getting it out, so she isn't possessed. I think that they're going to lie, cheat, and steal to do that, and so we're going to morally question whether we can root for them or not, and what this one girl's life is worth. But I'm nervous about them, and I'm nervous about them teaming up as a threesome right now, and I'm certainly nervous for Dr. Frankenstein, whether he's going to come on board with them or not.
And this creature.
Yeah,
I mean, so-called creature, but he looked like a normal human being. I'm not too afraid of him unless we actually see him ravish and rampage the whole city.
Do you think, like in the stories, we're going to hear him not really be able to talk and kind of be angry and whatever?
Well, and that's the funny thing, because the story of Frankenstein, he actually teaches himself literature and how to read and how to speak. He learns language himself. He's self-educated. And so I kind of maybe want to see the creature go that route, like he actually becomes educated
as
and
opposed
learns
to
how
the movies.
and learns how to communicate with people.
Yeah, I would really be interested in seeing that too. I don't want to see him, I mean, maybe make a few mistakes here and there, but I don't want to see him be this horrible monster all of the time. And at least we got that one amazing moment between the two of them. So emotional.
So good. I love this show. I hope you guys do too. This is a brand new after show, so all we are asking you to do is go on to iTunes, rate and comment our brand new show. Tell us what you love, what you didn't love about the show,
what you want us to talk
mostly
about,
what you loved. Give us 5 stars. We also have our other 2 co-hosts, Bobby Demura and Tiana Hobson. They're going to be joining us on a regular basis. But Roxy, in the meantime, to talk about this amazing show, because I'm going to be talking about it every single day, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Roxy Striar.
And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV. I'm so excited about the show. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I did literally a U-turn in the street to take a picture of the Penny Dreadful billboard. And so that just shows how excited I am about this show.
I know.
So follow us all here, and we will see you next week for Penny Dreadful.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.